The pandemic may prove to be a turning point for the Palm Springs Airport that sees it evolve from a regional destination into more of a national destination with a flurry of new flights from places throughout the nation. I asked the airport spokesman Daniel Meier about why this is happening and what it means for travelers. Daniel, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Palm Springs is booming with new flights during the pandemic. Why are all these airlines adding flights to Palm Springs at a time when fewer Americans are flying?
That's a very good question. It's a question I've had a few different times. So what's going on right now, the air travel industry as a whole is just a demand desert. There's really just not a lot out there. Business travel has been decimated. I mean, the pandemic has really, what industry has the pandemic not touched, right? But what segments of the travel industry that are rebounding right now, while business travel is still very depressed, leisure traffic is where the traffic is now coming back. So you've seen some of the reports on the passenger throughput numbers, the checkpoints, how the daily numbers keep going up and keep increasing month after month. That the traffic that's returning are those going what we call VFR traffic. They're visiting friends and relatives. And leisure traffic. People are wanting to go to places that are outdoors where they can be safe and be socially distanced. And Palm Springs, being the kind of market that we are, very outdoors market, great weather. It's a place where people can come, get a house with a pool, be by themselves with a couple of friends or close family. Other destinations that are similar outdoor destinations, mountain towns like ski resorts, they're seeing added service as well. So basically, the cities that are predominantly tourist-driven traffic, they're the ones that are mainly benefiting right now.
Will these new flights help drive down fares that stimulate new travel?
I like to think so. Competition is good, definitely for the consumer. We have Southwest Airlines that's recently joined us here at Palm Springs International Airport, and they are definitely a major player in the U.S. travel industry. And so with that added competition, I think it'll definitely come to the benefit of our consumers in the Valley.
Well, low fares are great for travelers, but they don't always translate into airline profits, especially when the industry is already losing so much money and asking for additional relief from the federal government. Do you think these airlines will make money from these new flights?
I would like to say I hope so. I think especially when you're seeing prices are definitely down, and many of them are still losing millions of dollars a day. What a lot of airlines are doing right now is they're trying to take advantage of, I think a couple of airlines are trying to get into markets they previously weren't, to get in right now while flights are down and travel's down, getting in and getting themselves established to be prepared to take advantage of travel when it does rebound, when the vaccine is widely distributed and we're able to go back to life somewhat normal, I suppose.
I'm curious, do you think all these flights will continue after the pandemic ends?
I think a majority of them will. With even when the pandemic isn't going on, airlines launch new routes all the time, and sometimes they're successful and sometimes they aren't. So here at the airport, we're definitely doing our part to try and advertise and get some marketing out to make sure that people are aware of what all the options are when they come from Palm Springs. We definitely want people to choose to fly local. If we want these flights to be all these new flights to be successful and to stay in Palm Springs, people really need to fly local and fly from our airport, and versus driving to an airport in Los Angeles. The more the locals support it, the more likely these flights are to stick around and to return next season.
How is the airport preparing for the surge in travelers during the pandemic?
Well, I mean, just like any sort of any sort of preparedness we're doing for a holiday travel or anything else, really, we're making sure we have all the gates available for the airlines, looking at schedules, making sure we have the availability for them when their flights are arriving. We can put them on a gate. And doing all our stand-up preparedness when we do prepare for normal travel.
And what about precautions for coronavirus?
I think we're definitely just like most any other business in the Valley. We're following all the state guidelines, CDC guidelines. Those are coming from the city of Palm Springs. We definitely require everybody wearing a mask in the terminal during their entire stay here. It's very smart for passengers. Just, when you get out of your car in the parking lot at the airport, just put your mask on and just wear a mask throughout your entire travel experience in the terminal, at the checkpoint, getting on your plane, while on the plane while traveling. And I would say just don't even take it off till you get out of the terminal at your destination, just to be on the safe side.
All right. Daniel, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.